I'm Helen Parker, 60 years old, and for 25 years I've carried the raw, unrelenting sting of a betrayal that shattered my teaching career and cast a long shadow over my life. It was the spring of 2000, a rainy April morning in Chicago, the air thick with the earthy scent of wet pavement and the faint sweetness of magnolias blooming along the south side, as I faced my former principal, Richard Hayes, in the dimly lit, cluttered staff room of Lincoln High School. The room, with its chipped coffee mugs and stacks of outdated textbooks, had once been a place of camaraderie, but that day it felt like a courtroom. I was 35 then, a dedicated English teacher with a deep passion for literature and an innovative approach that turned reluctant teens into avid readers. My lessons blending Shakespeare with hip-hop beats had transformed my classroom into a vibrant hub, my students' test scores soaring from the bottom quartile to near the top. I joined Lincoln in 1997, fresh from a master's program at the University of Illinois, bringing a wave of fresh energy to a struggling school where graffiti marred the halls and morale was low, my name whispered in faculty meetings as a potential future leader. But that morning, as I presented a detailed literacy program proposal, complete with data-driven projections, community partnerships, and a pilot with local rappers to secure state funding and elevate Lincoln's status, Richard's demeanor shifted from mentor to adversary. "You'll never lead this school. Helen, stick to grading papers," he snapped, his voice slicing through the hum of the ancient coffee maker and the patter of rain against the window, his eyes cold with ambition. He revealed he'd plagiarized my program, rewriting it in his own hand and pitching it as his brainchild to the school board just days before my presentation, securing a $50,000 grant under his name. To cover his tracks, he demoted me with fabricated accusations of insubordination and poor performance, orchestrating a smear campaign with staged student complaints about my harsh grading and a fake incident where a stack of my lesson plans was accidentally shredded during a custodial sweep. The school board, swayed by his 15-year tenure, his connections to a powerful alderman, and my lack of allies, my meticulously kept files vanished in that filing error orchestrated by his loyal secretary, ruled against me in 2001, leaving me sidelined to a substitute teaching pool, my reputation tarnished across Chicago's education network. My husband, Tom, a quiet, steadfast mechanic with a love for classic cars and a gentle soul, stood by me through the ordeal, but our savings drained under legal fees and lost income, our dream of a serene lake house in Wisconsin delayed indefinitely, replaced by the modest reality of a Hyde Park apartment with mismatched furniture and a leaky faucet that dripped into the night. Those words, "Never lead this school, stick to grading papers," became a persistent ache, a refrain that haunted every quiet moment of the decades that followed, reverberating as I corrected essays or planned lessons in isolation. I can still feel the weight of those early months after the ruling, sitting on a sagging couch in our Hyde Park place, the rumble of the L train vibrating through the floorboards as I scoured job listings in the Chicago Tribune, the ink smudging my fingers with each turn of the page. The apartment, with its faded floral curtains, creaky hardwood floors, and a kitchen table doubling as a desk cluttered with student assignments, felt a universe away from the bustling classroom I'd nurtured, its single window framing a view of a graffiti-streaked alley where kids played stickball. Tom took on extra shifts at the garage, his evenings spent tinkering with engines under a flickering fluorescent bulb, the scent of oil and metal a testament to his sacrifice, while I pieced together a living with tutoring gigs, after-school programs at community centers, private lessons in cramped living rooms, weekend workshops at the library, each session a battle to reclaim my calling, every dollar a step toward survival. Our son, Daniel, born in 2002 after years of hoping, grew up surrounded by books stacked to the ceiling, his childish questions a tender pain. "Why don't you teach at Lincoln anymore, Mom?" he'd ask, his small hands tracing the spines of my worn-out copies of To Kill a Mockingbird. I'd smile, crafting tales of new teaching adventures to inspire the world, but the truth gnawed at me. Richard had poisoned my network, his narrative of my unreliability spreading to principals and superintendents, his charm a mask for his deceit, leaving me blacklisted from full-time roles. Richard's career soared in the years that followed. By 2010, he'd risen to superintendent of District 299, his name etched on plaques from Evanston to Joliet, his wealth displayed in a sleek Lincoln Park condo with a rooftop deck, a cabin in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, and a leased Lexus for his commute. He hosted lavish education summits at the Hilton, his wife Laura flaunting designer suits at charity galas, his daughter Emily climbing the administrative ladder with a degree from Northwestern, while I rebuilt quietly, starting a private tutoring business by 2005 from our apartment's dining nook. My students grew, SAT prep kids from affluent North Shore suburbs, ESL learners from Pilsen, high school dropouts seeking GEDs, who valued my tailored methods, my reputation a quiet undercurrent in Chicago's education scene. But the wound festered. Richard's smug speeches at conferences were a parade of condescension, his boasts of turning around failing schools, Laura's Instagram posts from Lake Michigan vacations, Emily's promotions to assistant principal, each encounter a fresh cut. My parents, both gone by 2014, had believed his lies, their final years dimmed by his version of events, their letters filled with concern over my struggles. Daniel, now a teacher at a charter school in Englewood, wrestled with guilt, his early career shadowed by Richard's influence, his attempts to reconcile with me strained by his childhood respect for the man. Tom's unwavering support, his hand-carved bookshelves lining our walls, his late-night discussions over cups of chamomile tea, his stories of fixing up a '67 Mustang, kept me anchored, his love a steady flame in the cold. The turning point came 7 years ago, in 2018, when the first cracks in Richard's facade emerged. His district faced cheating scandals over manipulated test scores, parents flooded Facebook groups with complaints about outdated curricula, and rumors of plagiarism surfaced in the Chicago Tribune's education beat. At 53, with my hands trembling from arthritis after decades of writing on blackboards, I began my discreet investigation, tapping old colleagues over coffee at Greasy Spoons along 63rd Street. I'd meet them in the early mornings, my notebook a shield, listening to their tales of Richard's decline, overworked teachers, cut budgets, a culture of fear, over plates of scrambled eggs and toast. Last month, on July 18th, 2025, I sat with Susan, a former English teacher who'd left in 2012, at a diner in Pilsen, the clatter of dishes a faint backdrop to our hushed conversation. Her weathered hands, marked by years of grading, pass me a USB drive. He's desperate. Stolen lesson plans, falsified performance records, pressure on staff to falsify data. She whispered, her voice thick with regret. That literacy program was yours, Helen. My pulse raced. This was the evidence I'd waited for. On August 5th, 2025, I contacted Mark, a journalist with the Chicago Sun-Times who'd exposed school corruption with a fierce pen, meeting him at his cluttered newsroom on Wacker Drive. We poured over the USB, photos of my 2000 literacy plan sketch, detailed logs of Richard's theft, emails hinting at bribed board members. This could end his career, Mark said, his eyes narrowing. But we need the perfect stage. On August 22nd, 2025, I dug deeper, turning my kitchen into a detective's lair. Amid teaching notes and coffee-stained textbooks, I accessed public education records online, my fingers stiff but resolute. At 10 a.m., I found it, a 2017 audit report buried in state archives, tied to my literacy program, now linked to a cheating scandal that cost the district $200,000 in fines. My hands shook as I printed it, the past merging with the present in a surge of clarity. That evening, at 6:08 a.m. Central Daylight Time on August 28, 2025, I sat by my window, the Chicago skyline a soft glow through the dawn, plotting my next move. The Illinois Education Summit was on September 15th, a glittering event to mask Richard's decline. I'd attend, not as the paper grader, but as his reckoning. What he didn't know was I'd transformed my pain into a curriculum of justice, honed by 25 years of resilience and silent ambition. The 6 weeks leading to the summit were a delicate ballet of strategy and concealment, my days tutoring a facade for the revenge simmering beneath my lesson plans. By August 20th, 2025, my Hyde Park kitchen. Its walls lined with teaching notes, yellowed by time. Its table stacked with dog-eared books from my Lincoln days. Its air filled with the faint scent of chalk dust, evolved into a command center where every scribbled note fueled my resolve. Mark and I met nightly, his notebook open on my wobbly dining table as we dissected the USB and audit reports. My 2000 literacy plan, with its hip-hop integration and community outreach, had won Richard a District Innovation Award, its success a cornerstone of his rise, while my curriculum tweaks, interactive poetry units, had been repurposed poorly, leading to the 2017 scandal. Susan's data revealed a pattern: stolen projects from 2002, fake evaluations in 2019, a near-district takeover in 2021 hushed with political favors, a house of cards ready to collapse. I contacted Paul, a retired education investigator who'd clashed with Richard over a 2005 misconduct probe, his gruff voice joining us via a crackling phone call from his Arizona retirement home. This could trigger a suspension. Hit him when he's on stage, he advised, his tone laced with old grudges. I nodded. My plan, a lesson plan crafted from 25 years of suppressed fury, each chapter a memory of injustice, lost opportunities, stolen credit, broken trust. The summit, set for 9 a.m. on September 15th, 2025 at the Chicago Hilton, would be Richard's platform, a gathering of educators, media, school board officials, and education influencers, all drawn by the promise of policy discussions under the hotel's grand chandeliers. I'd pose as a retired teacher, my blazer faded but neatly pressed, my movements slow with a cane to mask my intent, my gray hair tied back in a bun and nod to my past dignity. My role was to deliver the evidence to Mark, who'd signal Paul's investigator contacts at 10 a.m., timed with Richard's keynote speech, ensuring maximum humiliation. I secured an invitation through Jamal, a former student from my 1999 class who'd risen to a school board member position after my tutoring helped him earn a scholarship to DePaul, his gratitude untainted by Richard's lies. He emailed it on August 25th, a laminated pass with my name in bold, his note reading, "So honored you're joining us, Miss Parker." He suspected nothing, his enthusiasm a tool I'd wield with precision. Preparation was a grueling ritual, a blend of physical endurance and emotional steel. I practiced my gait daily, walking the lakefront trail along Lake Michigan to perfect a weary shuffle and a warm, unassuming smile that hid my burning resolve, my cane tapping a rhythm of patience. I rehearsed lines, just here to listen to the future of education, though each word carried the weight of Richard's betrayal, Tom's unwavering love, and Daniel's silent guilt over his childhood admiration for the man. Physically, I graded mock papers and wrote lesson outlines daily, my hands aching with arthritis, but each mark and stroke bolstered my will to stand tall that day. I revisited old mementos, lesson plans from 1999 with my students' doodles, a faded photo of me and Tom at Lincoln's open house, a piece of chalk Daniel gifted me, a rejected summit proposal from 2000, each item a thread in the tapestry of my determination. One night, I found a charred fragment of my literacy plan, its edges singed from the shredding incident, and wept the lost potential of fuel for my fire. I also tracked Daniel's life, his charter school challenges, his recent engagement to a counselor named Sarah, hoping this act would mend our bond and secure his future. On September 12th, Richard called, his tone dripping with false warmth. "Helen, the summit's a milestone. Bring Daniel, let's bury the hatchet. Laura's eager to see you." I agreed, my voice steady, hiding the storm within. He didn't suspect I'd coordinated with Mark, who'd lined up Paul's investigator contacts, or that I'd commissioned a blazer with a hidden pocket, its fabric a shield of my past honor. The blazer arrived on September 13th, tailored by a local seamstress from Englewood, Mrs. Jackson, who chatted about her granddaughter's college dreams. Unaware of my mission, I tested the pocket, sliding the USB and printed audit inside. There weighed a promise of justice. At 8:30 a.m. on September 15th, I arrived, the Hilton buzzing with the clink of coffee cups and the murmur of excited educators, the Chicago River glinting through the windows. Richard spotted me near the ballroom entrance, his smirk tight. "Helen, still teaching kids?" "Nice effort," he quipped, his eyes scanning for weakness. I nodded, my cane steady, my pocket a silent arsenal, my heart thumping with the rhythm of 25 years. At 9:45 a.m., he began his keynote, launching into a speech about his enduring educational legacy and unmatched leadership as he unveiled a new literacy initiative that echoed my stolen plan. I scanned the scene, Daniel clapping awkwardly, Sarah beside him, media filming, Laura sipping champagne with a smug grin, Emily adjusting her father's notes. At 9:58 a.m., as Richard praised his vision, I edged toward Mark, my pulse a drumbeat. I slipped him the USB and audit, whispering, "Now." He nodded, texting Paul. At 10:02 a.m., investigators stormed in, badges glinting under the chandelier light, shouting, "Investigation underway." Richard's notes scattered across the stage, his face draining of color as investigators seized his laptop and files, the crowd erupting into chaos. The summit dissolved into a whirlwind of pandemonium, crowds scattering like startled pigeons, media cameras swiveling to capture every second, Richard's shouts drowned by the authoritative commands of investigators. Daniel stood frozen near a refreshment table, Sarah's hand on his arm, his eyes wide with disbelief, while educators whispered furiously, their professional dreams shaken. I stood tall, my blazer a badge of my hard-earned resolve, my cane a symbol of strength, my heart pounding with 25 years of vindication, and the bittersweet ache of a family nearly lost to Richard's lies. Investigators swarmed the stage, their navy uniforms a stark contrast to the summit's elegant decor, cuffing Richard as he roared, "This is a setup. Helen, you'll regret this." They read charges, plagiarism, falsified records, misuse of funds, each word a hammer blow to his empire, the list growing with mentions of a $300,000 fine for unaccounted grants. Mark approached, his voice steady amid the din. "They've got him dead to rights. Helen, you've done it." The media frenzy was immediate. Headlines like "Hayes' Empire Crumbles in Scandal" and "Teacher's 25-year revenge" blazed across screens by noon, my name a whisper of awe in the chaos. Richard turned to me, his face flushed with rage, sweat beading on his brow, his tailored suit now wrinkled as investigators tightened their grip. "You? After all these years, you bitter old teacher? You've destroyed my legacy," he bellowed, his voice cracking with desperation. I met his gaze, unflinching, my voice clear despite the tremor in my hands. "You said I'd never lead, Richard, never rise above grading papers. I proved you wrong, with proof, with grit, with every lesson I crafted while you stole and faltered. This is my payback, for me, for Daniel, for every teacher you crushed, for every dream you burned." He lunged, his fist raised in a futile gesture, but investigators restrained him, dragging him out as Laura sobbed, her champagne flute shattering on the carpet. Daniel rushed to me, his voice breaking through the noise. "Mom, I didn't know. I'm so sorry for trusting him." I hugged him. The first embrace in years, Sarah nodding in support, a bridge to a future we'd reclaim. The crowd buzzed with reporters, their microphones thrust toward me, but I turned away, my victory a private flame burning bright. The fallout was swift and unrelenting. Investigators suspended Richard from District 299, seizing offices in the Loop and records from Joliet, freezing his personal accounts, and halting his speaking engagements across Illinois, while agents raided his Lincoln Park condo for evidence of fraud. His empire collapsed, his district's reputation tarnished, schools distancing themselves, and his name, once a beacon of Chicago's education scene, became a cautionary tale whispered in staff rooms citywide. The media dug deeper, uncovering a $150,000 slush fund for bribed board members, a detail that sent shockwaves through the state. Daniel reconciled fully, moving into our apartment to help expand my tutoring business, his teaching skills blending with mine, while Sarah joined as an administrative assistant, her organizational flair a new chapter. Tom and I rekindled our bond, planning a lake house trip to Wisconsin. Our savings finally sufficient. Laura vanished from public events, her social circle dissolving, and Emily, Richard's daughter, distanced herself, seeking a career under a new name. I didn't gloat. My goal was justice, not destruction, but the sight of Richard's fall brought a profound peace, a quiet satisfaction that filled the hollow left by his words. At 6:08 a.m. Central Daylight Time on August 28, 2025, I sat with a cup of tea, the news confirming his suspension, a letter from Richard in hand. "Helen, I was wrong. Forgive me, help me," it pleaded, his handwriting shaky with defeat. I didn't reply, the past too raw, my strength too hard-won to soften now. Months later, his hearing began, prosecutors wielding my evidence, Susan's testimony, and Paul's audit records with devastating precision. I attended the first day, my presence a silent testament to my journey, seated beside Daniel and Tom, and watched Richard's defense crumble under the weight of truth, dozens of former teachers stepping forward with tales of pressure and theft. The judge, a stern educator-turned-jurist from Oak Park, ordered a full investigation, hinting at a potential ban from education and jail time. Daniel and I launched our business, Parker's Learning Hub, restoring family pride with personalized education, hiring Susan as a consultant, her expertise a bridge to the past. Tom retired, joining me in teaching literacy workshops for adults. I visited Lincoln High once, its halls silent, its classrooms empty, a monument to Richard's greed and my redemption. My revenge, 25 years in the making, was not just justice. It was my rebirth, a life reclaimed from the ashes of his betrayal, a testament to the resilience I'd always carried.